Story 1. Unsatisfied and, like a mayfly, screaming my importance at a universe that cannot listen. Story 2. Stomach or colon cancer. No specific reason. I just have a feeling that it is the one. Story 3. I have been depressed my whole life and have experienced suicidal thoughts for years. It will probably catch up to me at some point. Alternatively, it could be some accidental event because I am very clumsy. I might trip and fall into the Grand Canyon or something similar. Story 4. I died a long time ago, just waiting for the body to decay. Story 5. Non-small cell lung cancer. I think at some point, probably fairly soon, it is going to come back. I had it in 2020, and my scans over the last year have been getting worse. I completed 4 more rounds of chemotherapy in May in hopes of shrinking 2 nodules, and they responded just a bit. The next scan is in October. This might not end well, but who knows? Maybe it does not grow anymore. Story 6. In sleep, like my grandfather, not like the passengers of his bus. Scared and screaming. Story 7. I'm not sure, but I really hope to die with my boots on. I'd love to pass away reading a book, taking a walk, or doing something else I enjoy. I know I will not be bedridden. I will end it myself before then. That's actually a bit of a tradition in my family. Story 8. As someone with recurrent depressive disorder, it will probably be suicide. Story 9. Realistically, it could be cancer or an infection. I am not very healthy and have smoked for 16 years. I nearly died due to complex diverticulitis a couple of years ago. There is no way I am reaching 70. Story 10. From some diseases that are not diagnosed because every doctor attributes the symptoms to anxiety or the need to lose 20 pounds. Story 11. I hope it is natural, but anything could happen. At the end of the day, it is too hard to predict. Story 12. Parents and grandparents have or had cancer. I am hoping to get hit by a bus before it happens to me. Story 13. Hopefully drunk on whiskey surrounded by women and heavy metal. Story 14. Ever since I was a little kid, I had repeated nightmares of trees eating me alive, probably from watching Snow White and the Wizard of Oz. Walking home through the cold, frozen forest in the dark, in the mountains of Alaska, painful death seemed to await me around every corner. After seeing Poltergeist, I became certain that one day I would die, eaten by a tree. Story 15. Statistically, heart disease or cancer are the most likely causes. Probably a skin cancer that goes unnoticed for too long. I had many sunburns when I was in my teens and 20s. I run a lot and monitor my cholesterol, so my heart disease risk is lower than it could be, given my family history. I focus on risk mitigation nowadays, so it is probably not an automobile accident or something similar. Realistically, if I am certain I am terminal, I am not going to wait and risk medical expenses bankrupting my family. Story 16. Almost certainly doing something clumsy. I have already had so many near misses. Story 17. In my own bed, at the age of 80, with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around me. Story 18. I think I am going to die by myself because I hate myself for no reason. Story 19. Honesty. Drug overdose or drunk driving accident. As a recovering addict and alcoholic, a relapse is just a possibility. All of us in recovery know that, so it is just a possibility but not likely. Or something I hope people will remember me positively for. Story 20. Lung cancer. I could not stop looking at the mustard on my doctor's shirt when he told me it was terminal. I am going to cook methamphetamine with a former student to make sure my children will have money after I die. I am a chemistry teacher after all. Story 21. Cancer affects multiple family members on both sides, which is why my biological siblings and I have chosen not to have children. Story 22. Hopefully peacefully in a hospital bed surrounded by family. Story 23. Probably a heart attack, but I hope this is not the case. Story 24. It was absolutely going to be an elevator. I don't usually have these kinds of anxieties or quirks. I just saw too many expired certificates while riding elevators all the time. I've imagined many times what it would feel like to have it suddenly drop on my way to some pointless meeting I dragged myself to for appearances, even though my presence certainly couldn't have had a positive influence on the atmosphere. But I've been permanently working from home since 2020, so I'm starting to think maybe the prophecy has been broken. Or that's just when they will get me. Story 25. Hopefully a heart attack while skydiving at 102 years old or so. Story 26. I am either going to die on the front lines of the revolution or from a peaceful, painless helium suicide because of the suffering caused by poverty. Story 27. Overdoses, not illegal drugs, but painkillers, antidepressants, anti-anxiety pills. I have some health problems requiring me to take many pills per day, or maybe a seizure. Story 28. Starvation caused by extensive crop failures and climate change by the year 2050. Story 29. I would probably do it myself. I do not see myself dying in a car accident or from natural causes. Story 30. Nuclear war is a serious concern. I apologize if my answer causes you stress, but as a species, we can be very greedy and careless. Story 31. I read that it is common for people to be found dead in the bathroom because when something feels wrong, many people think they need to use the toilet or take a shower. Whenever something is wrong with me, I always take a hot shower first. I will probably be old and ignore the signs, take a shower to fix it, and then pass away in the shower. Story 32. I'm not sure how I will die, but I know how I want to die. In a blaze of glory in the heat of battle, then have my body lifted on the wings of Valkyries to Valhalla. If I cannot have that, then in the company of loose women with low morals. Story 33. My heart will stop beating, I will stop breathing, and shortly after, all brain activity will cease. I think that pretty much covers it. Story 34. In my bed at the age of 80 with a belly full of wine and a girl's mouth around me. Tyrion Lannister. Story 35. Behind the wheel of my car with my hands stuck in a box of hot tamales. Story 36. Not by shooting myself in the head with a 9mm handgun that one time, that is for sure. Story 37. A few years ago, I would have said alcoholic cirrhosis, but since meeting my first love, I feel hopeful again for the first time in a long time. It would be nice to grow old and have him hold me as I pass through to the void, but seeing as he is a great deal older than I am, it is more likely I will be holding him as he enters the void. Story 38. Hopefully trying to protect someone else. I do not see why people want to grow old. I have seen many elderly people slowly lose their minds and bodily functions until they just wait to die. That sounds like a horrible way to go. Story 39. Either suicide or health complications related to alcohol. Time will tell. Story 40. My girlfriend is being emotional and dragging conversations longer than necessary. Story 41. I have always felt it will be a car accident or in my sleep due to multiple instances of waking up not breathing. Story 42. Heart attack. It has killed the majority of the people on my father's side of the family, and I take after him. If it is not that, it will be breast or reproductive cancer among the women on my father's side. Story 43. I have a genetic terminal disease in my family that has no cure. My father and grandfather already died from it young, and since I am very skinny, I will likely get it too. I really hope not, but it is rare to skip it. Story 44. I'll probably die at work from a heart attack, I am sure. I have no retirement, barely any savings, and the retirement age will hit me in 15 years. As my child once joked, I'll have to ask for the day off to go to my own funeral. Sadly, my job is physically demanding, and one day it will probably kill me once I get older. Story 45. Do not know, do not care. I am too busy being alive to worry about how I am going to die. Story 46. Trying to pull an incredibly shiny shark with a vital organ. Story 47. I had a very vivid dream many years ago that I would be shot by a sniper through a hotel window. I felt the bone shatter. I always thought that would be how. Now, I am pretty sure I am on a different timeline where I die of sepsis. I have had it twice already, and not many have survived 3 episodes. Story 48. Choking on my own saliva or while drinking water. Sometimes I swallow excess saliva that has accumulated in my mouth, and instead of going down my esophagus, it goes the wrong way into my trachea. This causes violent coughing spasms. Story 49. Here are my top 3 in order. Heart attack, car accident, or accidental electrocution. Story 50. I think eventually my body is just going to give up due to all the stress I put myself under. Story 51. Alone, possibly from a heart attack in a decade or two. I will also write in my will to make it clear that I do not want a funeral because I am an atheist. I do not want a grave either, as I do not think that anybody will visit, and it is a waste of space. Story 52. Sitting with my phone in my hand because of the excessive scrolling on Reddit. Story 53. Either overwork or a simple accident while trying to have fun. Story 54. Suicide on my birthday. The best gift I have planned for myself. Story 55. Anything but cancer. Everyone in my immediate family who has died had cancer. I am hoping that I have a heart attack. Story 56. 83 years old. Lying in my bed with a glass of alcohol in one hand, a cigar in the other, and a companion showing affection. Story 57. If family history tells me one thing, it is either a 75% chance of an early death due to cancer or a 25% chance of developing dementia in my 70s. Genetics can be challenging. Story 58. If everything goes according to plan, overdose on some strong medication this December. Story 59. Hopefully, having sex at 95 with my 40-year-old partner does not cause a heart attack. Story 60. I cycle to work every day. Without a doubt, I could be killed by a Honda Jazz driver. Story 61. I'll slip on a banana peel, fall into a frog's nest, get attacked by the toads, be pushed into the ocean, get saved by a mermaid, bite the mermaid on the shoulder, get my arse kicked by a water-type Karen, wake up on the side of the ocean shore, survive the cold nights, survive harder, reach the top of a mountain, and yell at the top of my lungs, Anderson. Because I didn't know an Anderson in my life, and I kind of wish I did because he sounds like a cool guy to hang out with. Then, I slide down the mountain like Fred Flintstone and get pelted in the head by a falling tree branch. Story 62. No idea how I will die, but it certainly will not be on a boat or exploring a cave. Story 63. Sorry for my poor English. I think I will feel like dying when everyone who knows me personally has passed away, and when I am sure that nobody who interests me in music or similar areas will ever publish anything again. I mean like the Beatles some time ago. I think that would be like a hidden suicide. I do not have any mental health struggles. Story 64. Murder. I have a sense that I have met the person who is going to kill me. I will make them very uncomfortable while doing so, for example, by making fun of the clothes they decided would be stylish to wear while killing me. Story 65. Heart attack. In about 20 years, early 1970s. I am not obese, but I gain about 10 pounds per decade, and my endurance is decreasing yearly. I do not watch my diet and eat what I want, but I do not use drugs other than a beer or two at most. My family has a history of pancreatic cancer, but I do not think I will live long enough for that to affect me. It usually occurs close to 80 years of age. Story 66. Probably cancer. It seems to be affecting many people lately. Story 67. Probably from a careless mistake that was easily preventable. Story 68. Probably tripping over something silly, like my own shoelaces, while trying to avoid a completely unrelated and ridiculous danger. It will be a classic case of overthinking the situation and underestimating my own clumsiness. Story 69. Actuarially speaking, most likely from coronary heart disease. Story 70. I have always thought car accident, but I am thinking heart attack too. Those energy drinks are going to catch up to me. Story 71. Oh dang. I am actually really good at predicting this sort of thing. Story 72. Probably an accident or from a staphylococcus infection. I am ridiculously accident-prone and have suffered broken bones, including my neck, brain injury, severe burns, and bad car crashes. I also have a rare form of diabetes. After breaking my leg terribly, I got a severe staphylococcus infection and almost lost my leg. Since then, although my diabetes is exceptionally well controlled, minor skin infections usually turn into staphylococcus. I have had it in my leg, arm, ear, lip, cheek, and eyelid. I have been fortunate so far. No severe scarring, and I kept my limbs. However, I hope I will just go in my sleep. Story 73. Just outside my room at the hospice care facility. My heart will give out on a gurney in the hallway while they are cleaning up afterward. Story 74. I will overthink the possibilities of how I might die when I become old, becoming overly cautious of anything that could be fatal. I will exhaust my mind with all the stress and eventually let my guard down. The moment I do, I will die of mysterious causes. Story 75. Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, liver failure, colon cancer, or a broken heart in no particular order. Story 76. Surrounded by the corpses of my enemies after a glorious battle. Hopefully. Basically like that character at the end of the 13th Warrior. Story 77. Terry is either going to die saving the president or Terry is never going to die. Story 78. Most likely heart failure or a heart attack. After coronavirus disease 2019, I began experiencing serious cardiac problems. Severe degradation in quality of life since 2021. Story 79. Colorectal cancer or lung cancer is my guess. Alternatively, it could be a stroke. Story 80. Probably in a tragic accident out of my control. I do not know, just get the feeling. Something like a Final Destination type event. Anything is better than, say, cancer or some slow, painful disease. Make it quick and let me be unaware, please. Story 81. I hope my arrhythmia is what eventually kills me, although it probably won't. It has knocked me unconscious twice, and it was somewhat pleasant. I start feeling a little lightheaded, then quickly become very dizzy, and a few seconds later I lose consciousness. It is more likely that cancer will be the cause. I smoked for a couple of decades. I am 55 now and already on my second cancer. Both have been very non-aggressive. One cannot be treated right now, but it is unlikely to be fatal. Having 2 cancers by age 55 is not an ideal record. Story 82. Probably late-stage Alzheimer's. It runs enough in my family that I am probably not escaping that fate. Story 83. I have coronary artery disease. It will not get better, only worse. There is nothing I can do about it unless something else causes my death. It will eventually be fatal. Story 84. If I do not kill myself, I will probably die while defending myself or someone else. So I think I am going to be killed. But who knows? Story 85. Based on age, gender, lifestyle, and physical statistics, I am going to guess a heart attack related to your mother. Story 86. My life feels good, but I feel like I will die from cancer at some point. There are no signs or real indications, but I am trying to enjoy life now rather than tomorrow. My mother comes from the Philippines, and many of her Filipino friends have had cancer. Story 87. Heart attack in my early 80s like all the other men in my family. Story 88. I predicted my death when I was a teenager. It just popped into my head that I am going to die at 68 of a heart attack. Cannot wait to see if I am right. My 68th birthday is going to be fun. Story 89. I cannot shake this feeling that I am going to die early, probably from cancer or something. Story 90. I have chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, congestive heart failure, and pulmonary fibrosis. I will die from fluid in my lungs and around my heart. It will be a slow death. Story 91. I experienced cardiac arrest in November 2019. It took 5 shocks from automated external defibrillator paddles to restore my heart's rhythm. I have no memory of the event. I woke up 36 hours later intubated in the intensive care unit. After bypass surgery and pacemaker implantation, I have returned to normal. For me, cardiac-related death is probable. Story 92. Realistically, I expect to be involved in an accident because someone else does something wrong. For example, someone crashes into me after running a stoplight or stop sign. Story 93. If one of you does not give me one of your kidneys, then herpes. Story 94. The curse of my ancestors, also known as my damaged gene pool, is in severe need of some chlorine. Story 95. Car accident. I live quite a distance from my family and have to do a lot of driving. Poor luck, probably on my way to some reunion or special gathering, just being practical. Were killed in prison. Couple of close calls. Story 96. Heart condition. Men in my family have historically died of heart problems for generations. I see a cardiologist regularly, and my heart is apparently fine, but I have a high-stress job and home life. Could affect me. Story 97. Someone tried to use the restroom and found me passed away, naked at an old age. Story 98. I am half blind, half deaf, and half stupid. It is probably related to all three, like an angry train full of rabid fans of a book I did not enjoy. Story 99. I hope not, but there is a history of heart disease in my family. Story 100. One of those car accidents that hikers find 20 years later. Story 101. Probably not a motorcycle accident because I just survived one a month ago. I no longer have a motorcycle and am not sure if I will ever buy one again. Story 102. Chased off a cliff by a group of naked women. Falling to my death onto a beach in England. If I had my choice. Story 103. Suicide. I am just waiting for my existing obligations to end so I can be free. Story 104. Big pharmaceutical companies are going to put me in a nursing home, giving me many pills to take every day. Story 105. A brain aneurysm clip may come off. It has a built-in safety mechanism. Story 106. Being robbed and shot by someone much younger than me. Story 107. Dementia or brain tumor. Worried I am going through it now. Story 108. Probably I end up overdosing or drunk driving into oncoming traffic. I just hope that I meet my girlfriend when I die. Story 109. If I reach a point where I can choose my own way out and am physically able, I will pick a fight with a polar bear. Story 110. At age 850, when I finally pay the artificial intelligence overlords enough money for them to allow me the sweet release of death. Story 111. Road accident, suicide, heart failure, stroke, or cancer if I had found the will to live. Story 112. I don't know. Hope to just drift off in my sleep, peacefully and content with life. But I will probably be miserable and haunt you. Story 113. Suicide after a long fight with either cancer or a debilitating degenerative disease. Story 114. Stroke or heart attack, hopefully in my sleep. It will be difficult for my wife when she wakes up. Story 115. I know exactly how, I just don't know when. Here's the scenario. I tend to leave the microwave oven door open when I take things out. It is above the stove and sticks out quite a bit. One day, I am going to hit my head on the corner of the door, and that will hurt a lot. After that, I will be very careful for a long time, making sure I close the door and avoid running into it. I will be very diligent. Then, a few years later, in a hurry, I will leave the microwave door open. I will turn quickly toward the stove to do something, and I will hit my temple, cracking my skull and sending a shard into my brain, killing me almost instantly. I really tried. I was very diligent for years, but it takes just one moment of inattention. Dead. Story 116. I will probably harm myself once my cat dies. I did not want to be a downer, but that is just how I view it. She and I have 10 to 15 more years left. Story 117. I am working on buying a stunt plane, so probably in that. Story 118. I assume a lack of oxygen to the brain. The question is what will lead to that. Story 119. I must have been conceived hanging out. And I know I am going to die by hanging. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.